Today I'm just going to be tackling what I did in the previous video on the schematic, where I converted the 3-wire signals into 2 wires using diodes and then splicing 2 wires together. So each signal will have a ground plus just 1 lead rather than 2, and that will allow me to run the two wire signals. The headlight plug, this wasn't touched, however I'm just going to clean a little bit of this up and get it ready to be thrown back onto the motorcycle. Because in the next video we'll be putting some of these harnesses that I've been adjusting and tidying up and repairing back onto the bike, and hopefully get some things together before spring comes. Okay, so what I just did was actually look up the data sheets for a few of these diodes. I noticed that between the 4002 and the 4007, there isn't really much difference. All of these diodes are rated to the same amperage, which is pretty much the main concern with this signal light circuit. Since they're both rated for 1 amp, that's actually a lot higher than what the signal outputs, which is about, I believe, half of an amp. And that's intermittent as well. The other thing, they're rated for voltage that's way higher than this circuit is actually going to require, so there's not really going to be any issues there. So a lot of the data sheet wasn't really necessary. I just wanted to make sure that they would be able to handle like the current, and if they're each 1 amp, then that's more than enough for me. Okay, so I got the 4 signal wires that I wanted to have diodes. The 2 grounds aren't going to have any diodes attached to them. They're all facing the same way with this silver stripe, which indicates the negative side of the diode. But yeah, all that I am going to do now is solder these together, put some shrink wrap around them, and I'm going to secure all these wires before soldering them onto some new leads, so that will end up going into the new connectors, which I already had installed the male end pins on the actual front fairing. So I'll go ahead and get these soldered up and wrapped up. Okay, so the last part of this video is just going to be me attaching the terminal pins and actually entering it into, or putting them into these connectors. So these are weatherproof connectors that I am using on various parts of the motorcycle. Anything that's kind of getting your connector changed is going to get one of these with the extra insulation. With these connectors, what actually needs to happen for them to be completely weatherproof is we're going to need these pieces to go on before we crimp. And then what these do, they actually will just be fitting in the holes in there, and will just, again, just protect from moisture. When you see the crimp, you have two long tabs and two shorter tabs. The longer tabs are the ones that wrap around the actual colored insulation of the wire, and the two shorter tabs are the ones that actually get crimped onto the wire. And a crimp is supposed to be a cold weld, so it's supposed to be stronger than if you, if done properly, than if you were to solder. So I know a lot of people like to solder just because they feel more mentally secure. However, you should be able to, if you get like a decent pair of crimping pliers, which I actually don't. These are DuPont crimps, and these are not the actual right size, but it still should do the job. But at least it's just my bike. I actually had to go check to just double check what the direction was on the wires, so that when this one plugs in, this green will go to the ground on the bulb, and then this will go to the signal. So all I have left is to attach this side of the wire. I believe that they follow the same code, so that means that if it's facing this way, I'm going to have my ground on the right. And if we take a look at like indexing, those are going to be whatever tabs are like sticking straight up. Anything that would, like, when it goes in, you can latch onto it on the way up. So when that goes in, indexes are facing to the bottom of the screen. And it goes in. Keep pushing until there should be a click, and you won't be able to feel it coming up. Or sorry, it shouldn't move too much when you tug on it. If it doesn't go in right away, typically you may just need to like meddle with the crimp that you did. In this case, I'm going to just make this a little bit rounder so that it goes in a little bit closer. There you go. If I pull on it again now, it won't come out. And that's it. Next video is going to be putting some of these harnesses that I've been dealing with back onto the CBR600, so that I'll be able to kind of start figuring out the layout of the rest of the electronics. So thanks again for watching. If you have any advice on how I can make these videos better, part of the reason I'm doing this is so that I can become better at explaining things and making videos and editing, that sort of thing. So otherwise, I'll see you next time.